Well, Mike, I mean, there are a couple of dynamics going on here. I mean, and you're right. Anchorage has seen a real sort of boom in movement so over this past year, and it's a testament to how important that hub is to the Trans-Pacific trade, and in particular, the growing trade between China and let's say even Mexico, right? Anchorage is obviously the place where all of these aircraft need to tech stop and fuel and recrew and things like that, and those volumes are really growing quite nicely. I think we obviously have talked about what's going on in Europe and the e-commerce hit. E-commerce is 35% of all air cargo. So when that takes a hit, your numbers are going to be down. There's no way to overcome that given how important it is. Europe will recover. E-commerce volumes will recover. I think what you're seeing in the Transpac is that e-commerce continues to be strong, whether it's volumes coming to North America or we just talked about volumes going to Latin America, right? The trade between Asia and Latin America when it comes to e-commerce is absolutely booming, and nothing is slowing that down anytime soon. And all of it, not all of it, but a vast majority of it is flowing through North America with the stop in Anchorage, of course, before it ends up in LA or Miami or Mexico for that matter. But the other component here is AI, right? And so you saw the numbers that have been presented, right? Unbelievable growth out of Taiwan, out of South Korea. I mean, these are numbers from mature countries, that you would never have imagined could be possible, these high double digits. So I think that we're going to continue to see this AI driven boom for, the foreseeable future. Now, I mean, let's be clear, all these companies that are building these data centers are taking hundreds of billions of dollars of debt onto their balance sheet. They're spending a lot of their free cash flow on this build out. How sustainable that is for the next several years, I don't think I'm in a position to even have a clue. But I'll tell you that the numbers are quite scary when you think about the amount of debt that's being piled on. But that's what's fueling a lot of the Trans-Pacific growth right now.
I had an interesting chat with Torsten Hartmann at Hapag-Lloyd and John Gold at the National Retailers Federation. They were talking about the ocean market, actually. They've seen a very early peak season for various reasons on the Trans-Pacific, which you can check out in the notes if you want to catch that podcast. But Sean earlier there, Neil, he sounds really confident about a traditional Q4 Trans-Pacific peak season for air cargo. Are you as optimistic?
I am optimistic, but look, I'm a bullish air cargo guy. I always see the glasses as half full, particularly when it comes to air cargo, because I've been really impressed with the resiliency of this industry, the innovation, particularly in the past few years, and things like that. So I'm bullish on the industry overall, and I do think the peak season is going to be okay. I think, look, notwithstanding the war, the reimposition of some of these tariffs. I think, we've gotten used to some of this stuff, so it doesn't phase us as much as you think it would. The consumer is overall relatively strong. Stock markets are doing well, so people feel maybe a little wealthier than they actually are, and so they continue to spend money. And I think as long as that continues to be the case, I think the peak season, and of course the AI, as we just talked about, continues to move. So I think that peak season is going to be decent. I don't think it's going to be a blockbuster, but I think we are going to have a peak season. I think it'll be decent, and I think the carriers should be pretty pleased with how they're able to end the year.